Spot the fake thumbs. This is a magician's trick, and the idea is that you can just basically have a little ball of light and then you can transfer it across from one hand to the other, backwards and forwards, and do various tricks with it. But in reality, it's just a fake thumb with a light inside it, and traditionally these just had button cells in them. Let me zoom down this so you can get a closer look. They usually just had button cells, but these ones are quite clever. They actually come with a USB charger, and they're kind of professional grade units, and they are so bright, unbelievably bright, because they've got a 3-watt LED in the front. And you think, well, what's our circuitry is powering that? Because this is tiny. Well, I took one apart. That's this one. And aside from the fact that the whole circuit, I'll just tip it out here, the circuit was basically hot melt glued onto a little piece of plastic, and there's a 3-watt LED, a tiny little lithium cell, and the number on this was, let me just refresh my mind, 240508, which must be a date code because that does not relate to the normal numbers. However, I've since found that the correct number for this size of cell is 400909, which means 4mm thick by 9mm wide by 9mm long. It's a tiny cell, only rated about 25 milliamp power, if that. And basically speaking, they've got the charging port glued next to it in parallel, and then just a switch and no resistor. It's just slapping the LED right across the lithium cell, which is quite dramatic. And the result of building it in this way is, because there's no circuit board, it's very, very thin, and the heat shrink then just gives it a protective layer, and it is quite nicely made. Let me show you the schematic, which I've completely swamped out my notepad here. It's not a complex schematic. I've done another video since, and it was not on the primary page. So here's a charge socket, and it's connected directly across the lithium cell, and then it's the LED and the push button in series across that cell, and it does rely on the cell's internal impedance, which is quite a severe way to treat one of these little lithium cells. But then keep in mind that many of the little keychain flashlight torches with the 2032 cells, they basically just shunted the LED directly across either one or two of those cells just to get maximum intensity. And it overdrove the LED a bit. It pushed this cell a bit, but you know, it relied on its internal impedance to actually limit the current. In this case, I have tested it as well as I could by bridging the switch with a meter, but allowing for the meter leads, they weren't the very best set of meter leads. It was about 1 amp, so that there's a lot of current flowing through that LED. It really is pushing it right up to the 3-watt mark. But that is it. Very interesting construction and a very novel twist. Another version they had was, this came from AliExpress, by the way. They had little dip switches in here, and you could choose the colour of the LED, and it just basically switch that LED, and there was red, green, blue and white chips in the same package. Supposing then you could, say, have cyan by mixing the blue and green at the same time, but red would shunt the voltage down and stop the others lighting. So each colour might affect the other colour's intensity. But that's it. It's a very minimalist approach, very interesting. The socket is also tiny. The charging plug measures 2.1mm in diameter. That may be a Nokia charging plug. Not sure. Certainly the sockets are available, but they're marked as Nokia sockets. But very interesting. Very neatly made and minimalist to get the maximum intensity in the smallest space. Quite clever.